Hello everyone, Professor GonGoon here. Today's video is the start of a new series. I haven't figured out a name for it yet, but basically, I'm going to be analyzing how low elo players play a certain matchup, and then I'm going to compare it to high elo players playing the same matchup. A friend of mine, Princess Yuna, asked me to review the lane phase of one of his Jax games. I didn't plan on doing commentaries, but then Yuna seduced me with the bucket of chicken. As the aroma invaded my nostrils, I simply couldn't refuse. If you guys have any feedback, if you stop watching the video for some reason, please comment below and let me know why, so I can improve. It's my first time doing this type of video, so I welcome any type of criticism. But yeah, gonna try to lead this princess to the Diamond Castle. Here we go. The first thing we're gonna take a look at is the starting items. Jax 1 Flask, which is pretty standard against Ryze. Thorn's Blade is also a common start, but against Ryze, you don't have the luxury of constantly auto-tagging to sustain. So personally, I think Flask is a lot better. But Ryze's start is different from most. He's not running standard runes, so he doesn't have the Biscuit nor the additional potion. As for some of the spells, they're both running Teleport, which is the norm now. You may see Ignite sometimes in this matchup, because both sides can play aggressively, but I think overall, Teleport is the better summoner choice. As for starting skills, Jax took Counter-Strike. I guess it was to give us running a better leash, but I don't agree with that. As Jax versus most ranged champions, you want to start with Q first. When they walk up to harass you or see us, you jump on them and force them off the wave. Especially when you start Flash, because more often than not, you'll have more sustain than they do. So Jax walks into lane and Ryze gets a free auto attack on him. We're gonna slow the video down for a bit here. With that auto attack, Ryze only aggroed 1 minion, so why is he running? Why isn't he harassing Jax with more auto attacks and Qs? Jax is just standing there auto attacking minions. He's putting himself in a vulnerable position and Ryze isn't punishing him for it. He's running away from this 1 minion, which will only do about 10 damage per hit, when instead, he could be constantly auto attacking and Qing Jax, which would do much more damage than the minion would do to him. He's still not harassing and I have no idea why not. There's nothing to be scared of from a level 1 Jax. If he had Leech Strike, he would have used it already, so it's safe to assume that he does indeed have Counter-Strike. I mean, is Intimidation real? Does he not like the way Jax smells? I really don't understand why he isn't harassing him. He's sitting on full mana and he's scared to throw out a Q. Alright, we're gonna pause it here and talk about their positioning. First off, we know that Jax has no way of getting onto Ryze, so Ryze has full control of his lane, which means he should be playing much more aggressively. Instead of standing 10,000 feet behind his minion wave, he should be inside of his minion wave zoning Jax off of it. If he does move up, he forces Jax to move away, or he can just choke Jax for about 150 damage. If Jax does move up to fight, Ryze should just slowly kite back and weave in auto attacks and Qs as he does. But Ryze isn't in this position, he's really far back and he's focusing down this minion. So this means that Jax can auto attack the minions to push the wave, without worrying about taking harass. Jax should angle himself away from Ryze so that if Ryze does walk down to harass him, Jax can walk down into the bush. Now this is a pretty good usage of Counter-Strike for multiple reasons. We're gonna rewind and slow this down and take a look at what made this play possible. For some reason, Ryze walks into melee range of Jax. Is Ryze about to scroll slap a bitch? Is that what he gonna do? This sets Jax up with a really nice Counter-Strike, because with the second creep wave coming in, he has minions to charge his Counter-Strike up with. Notice that he auto-attacks then charges up his Counter-Strike. You do this to drop minion aggro while you're Counter-Striking to increase the damage of it. Instead of just running away, Ryze turns and auto-attacks Jax while he's Counter-Striking. Due to this, Jax is able to get an additional auto-attack off, and he lands his fully charged Counter-Strike onto Ryze and the entire creep wave. Most people would have gone for an additional auto attack here, but Jax made the right decision in just backing off. Ryze is still stunned so he can't retaliate, and all of the minions are stunned as well. If he had gone in for an additional auto attack, he'd be taking damage from the 6 minions along with Ryze's damage. But by backing off while Ryze and the minions are stunned, he's able to minimize the amount of damage he takes, and he's also in a position to finish off the low health minions and hit level 2 before Ryze. Ryze finally goes aggressive by moving up, and Jax reacts to it by moving down. Normally this would be fine, but they're both 1 minion away from hitting level 2. Instead of running away from the creep wave, Jax should just auto tag and kill this minion as soon as possible to hit level 2 before Ryze and immediately jump on him. Ryze is already at half health with only 1 potion, so if he jumps on him and auto tags him, he'd be able to take control of this lane or force Ryze to recall and teleport back. And you usually don't want to go back as Ryze until you have enough for tier, which he doesn't. They still aren't drinking their potions. I guess they just aren't thirsty right now. Okay, so he just counter-struck, and then jumped. Alright, let's rewind this. In case you didn't know, you can't activate the second part of counter-strike immediately because there's a small delay. So you counter-strike first, then leaf strike go into them, and then you activate counter-strike again for the stun. Instead of staying in melee range and auto-attacking Jax, Ryze snares him and runs, which is the correct thing to do. We're gonna pause it here and observe Jax's positioning, also known as spacing. Some people say spacing and positioning are different things, but to me, they're the same. First off, Jax is positioned at an angle that's close to Ryze. Remember what I said earlier, position yourself furthest away from the enemy to avoid harass. Jax should be standing here, but just the position furthest away from Ryze. Now what's gonna happen is Ryze is going to move towards you, but because you're further away you have more time to respond. Also, what are you standing by? The bush. When Ryze walks up to harass you, you walk into the bush, which causes him to lose vision of you. There are a couple of things that Ryze can do when you do this. One thing he can do is to walk into the bush to gain vision on you, but then he's going to be in melee range and you can just relentlessly assault him. The next option is for Ryze to walk up right here and play really aggressively. As Ryze, you only want to be in this position when you have a ward for the bush so you can force Jax away from your minion wave and zone him. You just have to be a bit careful because Jax can charge up his counter-strike in this bush and jump on you when you aren't expecting it. The third option is for Ryze to play with the passive aggressive stance. We're gonna call this stance X-Ryze. So what will happen is, Ryze will move down here. The stance is passive in that if Jax wants to jump on Ryze, he has to move pretty far out of the bush to get in range. That's if Ryze even lets him get in range because he can always just walk out of range. He can also remain in range, but walk up towards his minions. So if Jax does jump on him, he'll take minion aggro. In this position, if Ryze doesn't want to fight, Jax can't force anything. However, the stance is aggressive in that if Jax goes for any CS, Ryze is in a position to punish him. If Jax goes for this creep here, Ryze might have to walk up a bit, but he's still able to harass Jax. Also, when someone is using the bush against you, a good tactic is to ward the bush so you still have vision of them. This is especially useful against Rengar. The only problem with this is, if you have no additional wards, you won't be able to gain vision in the river or the tri-bush. You'll be blind to any incoming ganks. If the enemy laner uses the ward in the bush, let your jungler know that it is an easy gank top. We're gonna take a look at another trade. Once again, Ryze walks into melee range of Jax, so Jax is able to auto attack him. He aggroed a lot of minions by doing it, so he can counter-strike now. Once Ryze sees the counter-strike animation, he should know that Jax is going to jump on him, so Ryze is left with 2 options. He can snare Jax immediately so Jax can stun him, or he can let Jax jump on him and stun him, and then snare him after. If Ryze snares him after his counter-strike finishes, while he's taking all of these minions, he will at the very least force Jax's flash. And with Zen coming up the river, it could potentially turn into a kill. But instead, he snares Jax as he jumps on him. He got the leaf strike and the stun off, and he was able to take some minion damage as well. What makes this so bad though, is that after Jax uses all of his abilities on Ryze and is tanking 10,000 minions, Ryze runs away. Jax has no way of fighting Ryze back, even in melee range. If Jax stayed, he died to minions, so his only choice was to flee, and while he's fleeing, Ryze will be able to use all of his abilities and auto attacks on him. Zen comes in with Ghost and forces Jax's flash, so it was a successful gank. But Zen should be helping Ryze shove his wave to the tower so Ryze can recall as soon as possible. Ryze pushes the wave up by himself, but he doesn't push up the next wave for some reason. Even though Jax has teleport, if Jax tries to fight Ryze in this huge wave, it would only end with Jax losing a lot of health. So by not doing this, Ryze is denying himself experience and gold. Also a quick tip. To see what an enemy wave is, just look at your own on the minimap. If your wave is here, then the enemy's wave is also in the exact spot on their side of the map. Also, Jax went back with around 700 gold and bought a longsword. I personally think a Doran's blade would have been a lot better because it would offer him the flat health and the sustain. Also, for some reason, Jax is maxing W in a ranged matchup. When going against a ranged champion as Jax, it's best to mash your least strike first because each point into the skill lowers the cooldown of it. This means you can jump on them and force trades more often. I was debating talking about this because I haven't done my lane mechanics video yet, but I figured I'd just throw it in here. First off, Jax is doing two things wrong here. One, he pushed the lane up and let Ryze freeze the wave. When someone is trying to freeze the wave against you and you can fight them, you fight them. They can't fight back because not only are they taking damage from you, but they're also taking that entire creep wave. This forces them to run to their tower, which means that your minion wave will go to the tower and they won't be able to freeze it. The second thing is, Jax is going ward. Let's take a look at the map. We see Yasuo mid, we see Zen bottom. He also just killed Caitlyn, so even if we didn't have vision on him right now, we know that he's on the bottom side of the map. So why is Jax going ward? Who is he afraid of? The mid laner is mid and their jungler is bottom. He's in no threat of being ganked right now, so he should just hold on to his ward and use it later. Okay, we're done with the lower elo analysis. I don't want to go over the entire laning phase because then the video would be too long, and I feel like I covered most of the important areas in this particular game. So Jax needs to work on his spacing so he doesn't take as much harass. He also needs to work on his game knowledge and get more familiar with Jax and top lane in general, referring to his skill ordering and how he played the laning phase out. As for Ryze, he seems uncomfortable on ranged champions. He should play more ranged champions, perhaps make a custom game with 9 bots, and just get familiar with them. He needs to learn when it's safe to harass, how to be more aggressive, and he just has to get a better grasp of trading in general. So now we're going to take a look at high elo players playing the same matchup. And for this video, we're going to be looking at CLG Seraph, also known as Kina, and California Trolls. I'm basically going to use this to reinforce my earlier points, and maybe look at some things that the lower elo players didn't do. Okay, so what's the first thing we see? Ryze is auto-attacking the wave before Jax even appears, and this is to push the lane and get Jax under his tower so Ryze can harass him. Now what skill did Jax start with? He started with Leaf Strike. He's able to jump on Ryze and do half of his health just by skilling up Leaf Strike at level 1. Notice the excellent uses of the bushes. After Jax trades, he goes into the bush to avoid harass. What can Ryze do at this point? Ward the bush? But there's no point because Jax will win at level 1 with Leaf Strike. So as you can see, taking Leaf Strike against ranged champions at level 1 has a huge impact on the lane. Another thing I want to point out is that they're both drinking their potions as soon as possible, compared to the previous clips where they drank their potions when they were near death. I guess it's pretty hot in California, so they need to take a little sip of that ice cold flash juice to cool them off. So notice what this Jax is doing. He's staying in the bush until his Leaf Strike gets off cooldown, and then he charges at Ryze and shoves his weapon down Ryze's throat.
Giggity giggity. Giggity goo.
Ryze is auto-attacking and throwing Qs at Jax at every opportunity that he gets. He realizes as long as he doesn't walk into melee range, Jax has no way of getting onto him. So he just chases Jax down the lane and harasses him. Look at Jax's positioning. He positions himself away from Ryze so he can react once Ryze moves towards him. Notice how Ryze wards the bush. Ryze realizes that Jax's Q is on cooldown because he just used it, so there's no reason for him to be scared. He moves up aggressively and forces Jax away from the creep wave. It feels like they watched part 1 of this video and applied all of that knowledge to this game. Seraph put a ward in the bush to prevent Jax from using it, but because of that, he doesn't have a ward for the river nor the tri bush. Jax counter strikes first, then he jumps into Ryze, and then he activates counter strike again for the stun. Lee jumps in, and well, rest in pepperonis, CLG Seraph. Notice how Jax stays back until the minions are low, and then he finishes them off. This is to avoid harass, though in some situations you may want to push instead. In part 1 I explained the correct way to trade as Ryze, and here's footage of the trade in action. As you guys can see, there is much better brush usage and spacing, and these guys trade much more effectively compared to lower elo players. they just have a better grasp of the game overall. And that's it. That's the video. Like I said previously, if you guys have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. I'm eager to hear you guys' thoughts on this video. Also, if you would like for me to analyze your replay, tweet your replay at GonGoon_. I use Baron Replay and OPGG.com, so I'll only be accepting replays from those two sources. Also realize I cannot pick everyone. I'll pick someone at random. As always, I hope you learned something, and if you did, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm having a sale on those. Buy one and get one free. So hopefully you guys will be interested in doing that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Professor GonGoon signing out. Peace.